Hey everybody, we've got 6 incredible wines for you from Portugal. This is for Crunchy Red Fruit's May 2023 release entitled Boa Viagem. This is a journey to Portugal and exploration of the wine styles that make Portugal incredible and unique. One of the things I realized as I was picking all these wines and writing up all the content was that, oh my gosh, every single one of these is a field blend. And these are wines that are all very demonstrative of their region and express something very unique and interesting about the place they come from and the traditions and the people they come from. So we're going to start with this. This is a pet nat. This is entitled Rosa Duck, and it's made by Maria Pato. Maria Pato is the daughter of Luís Pato, and Luís Pato, or the duck, all their logos, the other family wines all have ducks on them, and it's kind of become this family symbol because it's their last name. This has become kind of their project, and Maria's project is going a little more experimental than her father's wines, and even his wines were experimental, but she's now saying, hey, let's make some funky pet nat, let's blend red and white grapes, let's ferment them together. This wine is so cool. It does throw a little sediment, so before you get it going, I would definitely turn it and circulate the sediment so you can create this kind of cloudy appearance. I think it makes it really appetizing and delicious. Don't worry about the chunks in this wine. It's unfiltered. That's how it's meant to be. If you'd like, you can stand it upright for a little while, 20 minutes, an hour, overnight if you don't want any sediment, and then just pour it gently to keep the sediment from circulating. But it's got all this wonderful grapefruit and cherry and fresh pomegranate notes in it, and it's the perfect thing to drink on a hot day. I would say, if you're going to drink this pet nat, get some crunchy food, get some chips, get some crunchy appetizers, or some seafood, and enjoy it with that, because the textural component of this is really nice. It's a very silky, very creamy mouthfeel. Next, we're going to go to a wine that a lot of you probably had before. It's Vinho Verde, but I don't think that everyone's really had a chance to taste a high quality Vinho Verde. And this is coming from Quinta de Santiago. This was a small family farm that was converted to more of a intentional winery. Instead of what the grandmother did, which was sell her grapes off to the co-op, she encouraged her granddaughter to take over and do some really exciting things with the winemaking and to focus on quality, and that's exactly what they've done. This is Vinho Verde, but it's a serious version of Vinho Verde. Rather than being something you'd buy for $5 or $7 at the grocery store that's sweet and has, you know, CO2 injected into it, this is a serious dry white wine. It still has the characteristic hallmarks of Vinho Verde. It has that crazy citrus quality, that yuzu and lime and lemon. It's so vibrant and just tangy, and it's very tart on your palate, but that brings so much refreshment. The saltiness in this wine makes me really want to pair it with seafood. I think oysters would be killer. I think clams cooked in a broth, shrimp would be fantastic with this, so go for it. It's the best Vinho Verde you'll have all year, or maybe you've ever had. At least it was for me. We're going to go to António Maçanita. António Maçanita's Laranja Mecânica. And Laranja Mecânica means a clockwork orange. It's his kind of inside joke, just talking about how the technology he's used to make this wine by gently pressing and keeping the grapes in stasis, middle press, while they're fermenting. And so he's actually creating this wine with that pressure on the grapes so that the juice circulating will create that extra spice and that extra texture as it ferments with the white grapes. This comes from Antonio's Fita Preta winery, which is in the Alentejo region, south of Lisbon. It's very dry, very sweeping hills. It's gorgeous though. If you ever have a chance to visit, not only is Antonio an incredible host and a great winemaker, but this is a very evocative, beautiful Mediterranean-looking region. There's cypress trees and rolling hills everywhere, and it's romantic and cool, and you should go there. You know, a lot of orange wines can be an acquired taste. They can be a little difficult, a little gritty, a little grippy, a little weird up front. But this wine is very inviting. It's got that dried apricot note, that toasted almond, dried flowers. It really feels like you're walking through a field in Portugal. It just has that, you know, dried grass and breezes and floral qualities coming in on the wind to you, and I just think this is a cool wine, and I hope you enjoy it. Now we're going to talk about reds, or things that are almost a red but not quite. This is Casa de Mouraz, and this is their Palhete. And Palhete, or Paleto, is a traditional style of wine coming from central Portugal that will actually mix red and white grapes. Like you see on the label here, you see the white grapes and the red grapes represented. They'll co-ferment them like happened in the pet nat, but they'll make them as a still wine. And you come up with this color that is really beautiful. It's not quite rosé, it's not quite red, but it's doing its own thing, and it's its own exciting thing. This has the refreshing quality of a rosé, but it has the seriousness and the depth and flavor of a red. To me, I would love to pair this with salmon. I would love to pair this with just sitting outside and barbecuing. It's got a lot of fresh strawberry, wildflowers. It's got a lot going on. I hope you enjoy it. Love Casa de Mouraz and all the wines I've had from them. This is maybe one of the more unique things I've had. Now we're going to talk about the Douro. The Douro is the region that traditionally produces port wines and has for a long time. Not a lot of people drink port anymore, unfortunately, even though port can be delicious, but sometimes you need to sit on those wines for 20, 30, 40 years, especially the vintage ones. And so a lot of port houses and new winemakers are making dry reds from the Douro River Valley. And so we actually have two representations of Douro Red, but they're very diverse representations that are showing you what a Burgundian-minded winemaker is doing and what, let's just call it a Bordeaux-minded winemaker. I mean, both these people are very firmly rooted in the Douro, but what you're seeing is just a diversity of styles that is really interesting to me. And so this first one is Xisto Ilimatado. It's coming from Luis Seabra, who is this... He's a quiet guy, but man, his wines have a lot to say. His style is very understated and soft-spoken, but when it comes to the things that end up in the bottle, oh my gosh, his wines are so cool. And Xisto Ilimatado is a reference to the schist soil of the Douro. If you walk around the terraces, and please visit the Douro, because it is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go. You have these big tall hills with terraces sculpted into the hillside, and a lot of those terraces were originally built by the Romans, some of them maybe 500, 600 years ago, some of them 100 years ago. The history there is just undeniable, and it's everywhere you look. And he's taken terraces from all over the Douro region, and he's kind of combined a field blend of different red grapes. The effect, though, is not this big, over-the-top port-like dessert wine. The effect is something very elegant and just brimming with personality. There's a lot of baked fruit here, but again, it comes off on the palate very soft. It's like baked cherry pulp, and it's got pink peppercorn going on there. Everywhere you walk, including on the Quinta de Romaneira estate or through Seabra's vineyards, you'll see this herb called esteva, and it's this very resinous herb that's actually used to create perfume. And the esteva leaf kind of shows up in the same way that a wine grown near a eucalyptus tree will show strong eucalyptus or minty characteristics. These Portuguese wines that are grown near esteva plants have this wonderful, like, herbal resinous quality that I think is really interesting and something you only get in Portuguese wines. And man, it's so delicious. So stylistically, we have Burgundy here, or a softer and more elegant interpretation of Douro Red. And then we're gonna go to this wine, 2015 Quinta de Romaneira. And this is from a larger estate on the Douro, a little more traditional style winemaking. We're seeing a little bit more new oak in use here. It's very spicy, it's bigger and more powerful and rich. But man, this wine's also just fantastic in its own way. You know, this is the elegance here, this is the power, and they're both, you know, wines that have a story to tell. You get a lot of that like toasty, oaky spice here, cardamom and curry and vanilla bean, but you also get wonderful baked fruit and that ripe plum quality and dried violets. It's definitely a wine for stew. It's a wine for meat dishes or things that you've cooked over an open fire. I think the Quinta de Romaneira is a really complex wine. I think it needs about an hour plus to open up. I've had this wine open since a couple hours ago, but when I was first tasting this wine, we had it open for almost 2 days straight, and it tasted different on day 2, it tasted different on day 3 than it did on day 1, and it kind of improved. To think about a wine that's already 8 years old but still improves after you've opened it, really cool stuff. I hope you enjoy this selection. I think it represents a huge diversity of styles, of people, of stories from all across Portugal. And I think there's a lot to love here. So thank you for being Circle members. Thanks for listening to me ramble from our informal meeting in the back of my pickup truck's tailgate. And I appreciate your time and appreciate you trusting us with your wine selections. So cheers, everyone, and hope you can go on this Boa Viagem with us.